So look, welcome to week 5, and it's nice to see the campuses across the state again. We haven't been doing this every week. You've been doing a lot of these, having a lot of your lectures just with your own lecturer on campus. But this morning we have a special guest with us. We have Julie Holmes, who is on the Noosa campus, and we're very fortunate to have Julie here, as she is one of the few careers people that we have, one of our advisors on the CQU campus. And obviously this week is all about planning your career, and that's going to be significant for everybody. So even if you really are very sure of what you want to do, it's still good to know exactly what your best options are. There could be aspects to this that you're not aware of, specialisations that you could go into. This is a really, really important decision that you're making, and it's important that you do the right thing by yourselves and really invest some time and thinking into this. You will then go into the lab session. For many campuses, it's actually after this lecture, and you will have a chance to go through a lot of the sites that Julie's going to talk us through today. So a lot of the emphasis is on you taking ownership of this and working out how you can find information. So even if you went to see a careers advisor here or anywhere, they would put you through a process much like we're doing today. You would go through and you would look at those different websites, you would look at your own personality type, and you would try and figure out what your plan might be. There isn't anyone who's going to read your mind and suddenly, you know, go bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. That's the career for you. Oh, that even rhymed. I didn't mean that to happen. So it's not as simple as that. You know, obviously you are the person who knows yourself best. So look, I'll hand over to Julie, and we are really, really appreciative of her giving up her very precious time. She's a very busy person. So Julie, over to you.
Thank you, Jenny. Hello and welcome everyone to the career planning module. A big hello to our distance students across the country and to our internal students across the different campuses. As Jenny mentioned, my name is Julie Holmes. I'm one of our careers advisors or student advisor, career specialist at CQ University. My colleague, Debbie Houston at the Rockhampton campus. The two of us form the CQU Careers team, and we deliver careers and employment services across the university. Traditionally, our careers team have been involved with delivering and creating the material for the careers module for the STEPS program. And it's really valuable time for us to be working together as as STEP students. You're already highly motivated and focused on your career ideas and your opportunities, and you're demonstrating that through participating in the STEPS program. So it's a really good time for us to be working together at the front end of your study, rather than the middle or the end, and when students are graduating. It's quite common for Debbie and myself to be working with students who are often upset because they have decided or worked out during their study, or perhaps at the end of their study, that the career that lies ahead of them, the career that they've been training to become qualified at, is not a good fit for them, and it can be really upsetting. So it's a really good time to invest that time and energy and dedication at this front end. So this is what it's all about. Now we know that as a cohort that you're an interesting crew, that there's a lot of diversity here in terms of your background stories, your work experience, and the reasons why you're participating in the STEPS program. Those of you that already know what it is that you would like to do, say aye. Got a few. Those that are thinking about some ideas and not quite sure, but you're just playing with some possibilities at the moment. We've got a few shy eyes, but mostly probably in that second second group, thinking about your ideas and possibilities. Now, some of you may have fallen into a career or a role where an opportunity came along back in the day, and you took that opportunity and you became really good at that role, and you became known to be good at that role, and you progressed and moved into levels of extra responsibility. But over time, you realised that it wasn't really what you wanted to do, and you had other ideas and opportunities that you haven't yet explored that you would like to try. For other people, it may be that perhaps you've experienced jumping around a number of entry-level roles, and whilst you were doing those roles, you notice other people perhaps working in different positions of responsibility that you felt that you could probably do that role if you had a chance, possibly even better perhaps. Or that you haven't had yet the opportunity to use a skill set that you know you would like to or you could do, or would contribute in a way that you haven't had an opportunity yet. And that qualification is going to allow you to do that. So that may be a reason why you're here as well. For others, it might be that you've undertaken carer responsibilities or you've taken a support role and you haven't had an opportunity to really think about what you want. So now is the time. Okay. So even if you have a clear idea of what it is that you would like to do, this is a good opportunity to keep your options open rather than narrow and to be thinking about all the possibilities. We're going to be looking at some and exploring some occupation information around things like what are the job conditions going to be like, what to expect in terms of salary levels, what are the job prospects, what's the likelihood of your work-life balance with these kinds of roles. So these are some of the things that we will explore, and it's going to be a lot about investigation. Okay. For some of you that also have a feeling that you know what it is you'd like to do, there are going to be opportunities to explore related roles, perhaps a different field, and also looking at more broadly, I guess, at skill sets and how you might like to use those. And so what we encourage you to do is to explore these possibilities before consolidating your plan, test your ideas, and to do that before you confirm your direction, because you might find that there's a variation in your role or your ideas that may suit you better. Okay? All right. Have I got this going? Yes.
Julie, just check the back and see the PowerPoint.
Can you guys, someone perhaps from Rockhampton, can you see the PowerPoint on your screen? No? Yes? Someone?
Yes, we can.
Can. Thank you for that. Very important.
No problem.
Okay. So this module is going to invite you and ask and invite you to challenge your ideas and test them. It's going to ask you to think deeply and reflect about who you are and what it is that you want. And it's going to ask you to engage and participate at a high level, and to do that. The more that you do this, the greater the payback is going to be for you. So if you do this at a surface level, your results may not be as valuable to you in the long run as if you dedicate a lot more time and effort to that reflective stage. And as Jenny mentioned before, it's not a case of sitting in front of a careers advisor. Sometimes I sense this sometimes, and thinking that simply sitting in front of a careers advisor, they will impart to you through some sort of psychic ability around what it is that it's going to be your best option. You know yourself better than anyone, than a stranger, than a computer program or personal profiling. So that self-reflection is really important to get the most out of this time. And we're going to do a little bit of what I like to call the 3 R's, and that is to reflect, to think deeply about who you are and to develop your self-awareness, to research your occupational information, and then ruminate and be just mulling over your ideas and making your decisions. I like this quote. Destiny is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. It's not a thing to be waited for, but a thing to be achieved. Or as my previous colleague liked to say, hope is not a plan. So a dream is great, but a dream without a goal it needs a plan and it needs a goal. Okay. So it's nice to have dreams, but we need to be much more practical about this. Now, it's probably good to have goals that affect all of your areas of your life, but your career will have a large and holistic impact across a number of areas of your life. It was interesting. I came across some research it was called The Architecture of Sustainable Change, Pursuing Happiness. And what they found in their research is that 40% of what determines your happiness is through intentional activity. And so I believe that your career choices can have a huge impact around your overall happiness and your lifestyle, yeah? If you're going to work and you really dislike going to work, it's going to feel really awful. Your days are going to be bleak because you spend so many of your hours of your working day in the workplace. You know, sometimes we have students or prospective students that say, right, where's the salary information for a dentist? That's what I want to be, yeah? And they're not interested in being a dentist. They don't like the idea of being a dentist. But can you imagine how, you know, what their happiness factor will be going through life if they actually are able to keep motivated and pass their courses? Probably not great if that's their sole focus, yeah? So it can affect, you know, also, you know, where you live, your lifestyle, the kinds of work balance that you might be achieving, and perhaps the holidays that you might be taking as well. Okay, what we're going to cover during this module, we're going to be looking at the 4 stages of career planning and asking you to engage with that and be considering where you fit into those stages. We'll be looking at and giving you some tools around career exploration and looking at your occupational information. It's going to be really helpful for you. So today is going to be more about giving the tools and the background that you'll then go away and focus on in your own time, reflectively. Okay, a little bit of careers theory. We're looking at definitions here. What is an occupation? It is a group of similar jobs found in different industries and organisations. For instance, an educator could be found working in early childcare, right through to an academic in a university, perhaps corporate training in a professional commercial sector. That's an example there. A job is a position in which you perform tasks for payment, hopefully, and a career is the sum total of paid and unpaid work, learning and life roles that you undertake throughout your lifetime. So your career is almost like, and I like to think of it like a suitcase. Inside your suitcase, you're building and putting in your skills that you're developing, your experience, your qualifications, and you take that with you throughout your career. We'll look at investing in your human capital. So looking at what it is that you're bringing together as a person, your skills, background, experience, what you're putting in that suitcase, that is going to increase your value in the job market, is this context. There's some recent research that found that university education had quite a high return in terms of, in that monetary value, on average at least 12% more income per year where someone holds a degree or higher, which relates to this research here, that according to this group that study areas of sociology and economic areas in community, in Australian community, they did some investigations around the cost of tertiary education in Australia, and they found that potentially a graduate would earn $1.5 million more over their lifetime than perhaps someone who had a Year 12 qualification. Big difference, yeah? I'm assuming that that's probably someone who did their degree perhaps in their younger days, but it gives you a bit of an idea. So holding a degree will allow you generally to access higher levels of paid positions and to progress usually and be promoted a little more easily. Okay, I'm just going to look at a student here. His name was Chris, and he decided in his early 20s about what he wanted to do. Now, he wanted to travel. He was interested in working with people. He liked variety, excitement, and just wanted to kind of have a carefree kind of role where he would turn up to work and then he could leave without having to worry too much. He decided to complete a TAFE course in hospitality. He started working in a resort, and the starting salary was $28,000. The average for the industry being $45,000, and it allowed him to travel. With him, he found that working in hospitality had a bit of a shelf life, and he did get a little bit jaded. So after around about 5 years of travelling and moving around a lot, his ideas about what he wanted changed. He decided that he wanted to earn a higher salary. He wanted an opportunity for promotion because he wasn't able to move further in those roles as he would have liked to. And he wanted that job security. He found within the roles that he was working in, it was a little bit dependent on other factors, seasonal factors, sometimes turning up for work and there not being enough patrons to work the whole night, etc. He wanted more job security and he wanted time for recreation. Often in hospitality, you are working while everyone else is playing, and that was getting a little bit tired for him. So he decided to come and do the STEPS program. He completed his IT degree after that, worked in a rural area, and his starting salary was $45,000, moving up, or the average salary of $85,000, but of course room to move from there. So quite a big change for him. And on average, an Australian will have 5 to 7 career changes in their time. And those stats seem to be probably getting a little bit bigger. The days of, or our world of work, has changed a lot in the last 15 years. So a lot of jobs that we have now may not have existed 30 years ago. The job market ebbs and flows. The organisations that we work in ebb and flow. So it's really important to be thinking about what your skill set is, who you are, where your strengths lie, not just what the salary income is going to be. What are you going to be putting in that suitcase to give you that edge as you go into the job market? Okay, what I'd like you to do is just to think carefully or have a discussion amongst yourselves. We'll have around about 5 minutes for this, and I want you to have a chat to someone that you're sitting beside around what occupation or perhaps / occupations that you are considering at the moment, why you're considering this occupation, and who or what influences may have caused you to be thinking about these occupations. What are the influences there? And you might already have some ideas about what that occupation will entail. So I'll give you around about 5 minutes to have those conversations, and I'll turn our mic off here at Noosa. That one there? Right.
It's kind of like the best. I just wanted to go to the university. There was an actual art school. It's like Queensland. I know there's one from like science. It's in Brisbane, None of my family's in that. It's my dad. It's
Okay, thanks everyone. Some really good discussion going on there, a lot of good ideas. Rockhampton, I'm not sure, but I think your mic might be on. Can we just have that checked, please, Rockhampton?
We can hear someone. I think it's Rockhampton. It might be your mic out front that's on. Would someone like to check, please? Thank you.
Okay, thanks everyone. And it's really important to be thinking about your influences. What are influencing your decisions? We often encounter people who have moved into roles, say the police force, defence force, moving into working as a teacher, because their parents did that, or someone told them it would be a really good idea, and they didn't get that opportunity to really think deeply about what they would be good at and what would suit them well. So it's really important to be taking away those influences, working out what they are, shedding those, and thinking purely about what would work well for you, what would be a good fit. We're going to look now at the stages of career planning. 4 stages. The first stage is around self-awareness. So that's where you're doing all your navel gazing. You're thinking about who it is, what makes you tick, what makes you you. What are your skills, your values, your strengths, your attributes? What motivates you? What are you passionate about? When do you lose track of time? The next phase, we're looking more at researching your options or exploring your options. And during this module, we're going to focus mostly on those first 2 phases. The next phase would then come down to making decisions. So after exploring your options, you'll be narrowing down your options down to making a decision for now. And then following that, you'll be putting together your action plan. How are you going to make that happen? Once you have an idea of your direction, the how, your map of where to go, is going to be much easier. That's why we need to dedicate a lot more time to those first stages of career planning. Now, when thinking about and discovering yourself, it's really good during that self-awareness stage to be thinking or using multiple ways or methods of considering this area. So one way is just purely your own self-reflection. And that can be doing things like a bit of an audit of your strengths and thinking about what it is that most interests you and reflecting deeply about that. And then thinking also about conditions and parameters that you need to consider in your workplace, which I'll come to in a moment. So actually, I might just move on here. So your self-awareness, what are you interested in? What do you enjoy doing in your spare time? When is it that you lose track of time? Perhaps there are things that people come to you and ask for help for advice, or perhaps asking you to help fix something, or maybe you're really good at some sort of technology that people know you for. These are good things to be considering when you're looking at what your strengths are. Okay, also a good idea to be thinking about your previous employment. What did you like about your previous roles? What didn't you like? What did you detest? Those are really important things to be thinking about too, and it's good learning. Moving on here. This is a little list of skills that you might enjoy doing. So when you're thinking about when you lose track of time or things that you do enjoy doing, apart from just relaxing, when you're actually engaging with something, you might find that you're doing things like kind of helping someone, or perhaps it's fixing something or creating something. What are those skills that you're using when you are in that space, or when you're in that space of flow, as perhaps a lot of philosophers will talk about in careers and careers theory as well. And then secondly, once you've thought about who it is that you are, you also want to be thinking about your values. What is important to you? What do you want out of your career progression? Thinking about some of your values. What's going to be important to you in terms of your salary level? Is that level going to be really important to you? Where's that threshold? What do you need to sustain yourself if you're going to be investing that time into a career or study pathway? What level of challenge do you need? Do you need to feel like you're an expert in your role? And that gives you that sense of confidence, or do you prefer to have a lot of challenge and move around and have a lot of variety? Is recognition important to you? Do you like to have a lot of responsibilities? These are good things to be thinking about when looking at your values. On top of that, you'd also want to be thinking about some of your parameters. Things like, do you have medical conditions or a previous injury that you need to consider? What are your ideas around working conditions? Are you happy to be travelling? Are you happy to relocate? Where is the work going to be? Are you happy to be on call? Are you happy to be working certain hours, shift work, etc.? These are things to be thinking about and using as a filter when you go and explore your occupational information. Which direction do you plan on taking? This is what I like to consider your North Star. Which direction do you want to be moving in terms of your career? There can be a lot of pressure, and it can feel really overwhelming when you're thinking about your career planning. There are so many options. There are thousands of options, and you have information coming at you from every direction. We need to make this take the overwhelming aspect away from this as much as possible. So you need to be thinking about, if you were standing there and if you just took the first bus, you're going to go in any which direction. That's kind of like falling into a career. If you have a general idea of the direction, do you want to be going north, northwest? Where do you want to be going? And if you're catching a bus that's going in that direction in terms of your career planning, then that's a good move. You're moving in the right direction. And you might find your direction paths change a little as you learn more about the occupations that interest you. Personality profiling. So before I was talking about triangulating your ideas and your methods of looking at your self-awareness. One way is to look at your personality profiling, and previously I understand that you completed the Jung typology testing in the previous module. So you're going to be using your type, your personality type that came through on that module and that testing to then identify some possible career matches. The risk here is that for some people, they have a particular idea, they've got that destination, it's not a general direction perhaps, it might be destination point A, and if that doesn't come up, for instance, they want to be work in public relations, and that doesn't come up on their test, and that can be a little bit scary. Remember, this is just a computer-generated database, so that's why it's really important to be doing your own reflection as well as doing some profiling. And I'm going to show you another method in a moment, which is called the 7 types of work that we'll look at too. So this here is part of the module that you'll go away and do in your workshops, or perhaps on your own if you're a distance student, is you're going to be looking at this link, which is in your module, and it will list a number of careers that will match the personality type that came up in your profiling. Thanks, Jenny. I might get you to jump out of there. Thank you. Oh, my sight is very limited here. Okay, so we're just going to go into, I can't see. Whoa. We're just going to go into this link, and this is what it will look like for you. It has a whole list of the personality types down here. You need to find yours, and in that list we'll have a whole bunch of roles that you can look at. At this stage we're getting a broad list together. We're wanting to keep it broad and to note down those jobs, and particularly picking out ones that are really that are appealing to you or of interest, perhaps things that you've thought about doing in the past, and putting that list together. Okay. We might go into this next phase here. Looking at then the next part of your online searching will involve an activity called the 7 types of work, and to do that we're going to go into the job guide. On the job guide, I can't see that from here. On the side there will be a tab, and I just want to give you a little quick navigation so that you have an idea of where you need to go when you go and do this for yourselves later. There's a link there on the side called Building Your Career, and then it'll open up a list of subtitles. Down the very bottom is a section called Thank You Job Charts. This is where you'll be going to look at the 7 types of work. This divides up work into areas of or skill sets. What you will need to look at is which skill sets most interest you and link well to the other reflection that you have been doing. Each one of those has a link, and from there you will open up a whole... Did I click the wrong link?
5 steps.
Oh dear.
Are you trying to get to it?
I was trying to get to the job chart. Oh, hang on. This is very tricky. When you click on that link that I showed you before, there's the 7 types. It'll bring up a whole list of job types that are suited where you're using that skill set.
Step 2, Julie, is what type of work it is.
Okay, is that there?
Yeah.
It's a little bit hard at Noosa. We've got our computer screen far, far away from where I'm delivering. Okay, I'm missing that, aren't I? There we go. Hey, no, that's not it. My eyesight's pretty bad too. All right. So that will open up a whole list. When you do that properly, just follow the screen dumps in your module, and that will bring up that list for you.
Jobs chart?
You can actually click on the links as well for those titles. Thank you. And again, you're looking at your possibilities. Okay, so that's where you're going to be triangulating. Also, just going back to your reflective stage, what you need to be doing is dedicating some time and space and quiet to be doing that, to do it well. So you need to be removing all of those urgent things that are pressing for you and somehow move them to the side and take that time to be thinking for yourself. A good way to do that is to be doing some mind mapping, which I know we do it to death, but because our thinking and our flow of thinking is quite organic, it's not linear, so it's really good to get your ideas out on paper, your skills, your strengths, and all of your ideas there. And it allows you to follow the rabbit to the end of the burrow and just to see where it takes you, and it's a really good activity to do. Okay, might move along to that second part here. The next part that we'll get you to look at, I wonder if it's easier for you to drive, Jenny, there. Oh, hang on, I'll try. The next phase we're going to be looking at is gathering that occupation information. And to do that, we'll be going onto a website called My Future. And, oh, you're there, Jenny? Thank you. What does that say?
Explore careers.
Explore careers. At the top tab, there's a tab there called Explore Careers, and then under that is Browse Occupations. So you're going to click on those links, and you're going to need to do a little bit of exploration here. It's good if you can to take a few notes of where we'll be going for those going into the labs or doing this later, just to help you move through the activities. You then need to look at the occupational search A to Z, which is the second one down there, and click on that link. Now, the trap for young players here is that sometimes you might have an idea of what a role title will be, and there can be multiple names or titles for that role, but it may not be coming up under where you think it would be coming up under this database. So you need to be kind of looking at it from different angles, and you may need to do the search function if you can't find your role initially. For example, a sonographer doesn't list under a sonographer under this program for some reason. You need to go under medical imaging. But it can take a little bit of working out and perhaps looking at related roles to find the one that you're actually after. So let's just jump into A, perhaps for accountant. You're already up there. Let's do something really simple. So accountant will be up there. Is that Jenny on the top right there? Excellent. We're going to have a look in there. And it's going to open up a whole range of information for you. It'll have a profile about the types of tasks and what you can expect in a typical day working as an accountant. We'll move past those second ones with the occupations in demand. Okay, it'll have some information around the study areas that will fit well to suit that career progression, so that can be really helpful for you to know as a STEP student. On the right-hand side, there'll be some helpful website links, and they can link to a number of professional bodies and whatnot. At the top end, you'll see as well, or that probably lists some specialisations, does that, Jenny, down there?
Helpful websites.
Helpful websites. Down the bottom are some related roles. So that can be really really good to explore other possibilities that perhaps you may not have thought about, and just to look at where the differences lie and what perhaps appeals to you most. Scrolling back up to the top, there are two areas that are really interesting for getting your stats breakdown. Under is this occupation in demand, and how much can I expect to earn? There are some links. We'll just click on that one. Thanks, Jenny. Look at both of those areas. And this will bring up a Job Outlook website. In this website, it will first initially just indicate your job prospects for this demographic. Good to check what the occupational group is for this. Sometimes they group them together. In this case, it's just accountants, so you know what information you are working with, that you're reading. Sometimes they'll group a whole range of occupations together, and there can be quite a range of salary levels and all sorts of things going on. So it's good perhaps to look at that. There's a second statement there. What does it say in bold, Jenny, on that second
Key indicators.
statement? Is it just going up to the top there? Does it say grow strongly in bold in that second bullet point?
Yes.
Grow strongly. Okay, so the expectations are here that with, I think, before 2017 from memory, in the next 3 years or so, that the government expects, and the job projections are, that for accountants it will grow strongly, that area. So it's really good to know that before you start undertaking your degree. What are the expectations? That second tab across, thanks Jenny, has got some extra statistics, and you will jump into that from another link as well, but we'll have a look at it while we are here. And you're able to do a drop down there and choose the kind of statistics that you would like. You're actually able to go down to the very bottom and have a look at show all. And it'll break down a whole range of statistics from where are the jobs, which states are the jobs that you'll find for that occupation, what is the gender breakdown, what is the average salary, that's the interesting one, for someone who's working in that occupation. Now, when you're reading this information, it's really important to note that there are the light blue columns and then there are the dark blue bars. The dark blue reflects the occupation that we're looking at specifically. The light blue reflects an average of all other occupations in Australia. So you're getting a sense against and measurement against the average there. So that's the way to read that information. So there's a lot of information there. I encourage you to try not to get analysis paralysis, but just take the information that's really important for you as you're making your decisions, because you will have made some decisions in your reflective time. For some of you, it may be important around the kind of people that you're going to be working with, the kinds of colleagues. What's the age demographic going to look like? Is that important to you? Do you want to be working in a particular gender-dominated environment? Does that concern you? Is that going to be something that you need to consider and factor in? So this information can be really helpful with understanding the breakdown for occupations. So during the actual lab time, you'll be looking through this information to gather as much as you can about occupations of interest. So initially in that self-awareness stage, you were broadening out your options, and then through the research stage, you're wanting to pull out and narrow down, perhaps write a little note to yourself, occupations I want to explore. Try and narrow it down to, get it down to maybe around 5 that you explored more deeply. You might go back and look at others later. And then from there, you're doing your research, and that will help you inform your decisions around what appeals most, what's going to be a good fit for you. Okay, thanks, Jenny. What we'll do next is jump into the handbook, which comes later. And that is matching your study pathways to your ideas, your career goals. So we're in the CQU 2014 handbook. You might already have an idea of what the program of study will be that will allow you to pursue that career. You may need some extra advice on that. So that might be something you would come to a careers advisor to seek assistance with. We're going to go into the programs part there on the left-hand side, and this just gives you a little bit of exposure so that you can go ahead and do some of your own exploration. And we'll go into the undergrad section. On that left-hand side, just underneath, you'll see a whole range of just study areas, and we might just take a look at the humanities area.
Maybe psychology and social work.
And social work, thank you. And it lists programs of study. If we go into the Bachelor of Social Work, and in there's 2 tabs that are really good to focus on at this stage, or when you have an idea of what it is that you would like to be doing. The first page is the Overview tab, and that has some information, career information, around the types of roles that you'll be qualified to do once you've completed that program of study. The second tab that's really good to look at is the structure. Is it called structure? Program structure? Yes. And in there, it'll have a breakdown. It gives you a visual of what you'll be completing during your program of study. What are the names of the courses? You can open up each course link and get an idea of the course outlines, how the courses fit together, what courses you need to do first, etc., etc. For some programs of study, you also need to consider, and sometimes quite early on in the set, what your specialisation will be. In this program of study, they're simply core courses. You have 2 electives that you can choose, but in many you actually have a drop down and it will say which specialisation, particularly engineering and whatnot. There's a lot to choose from, and you need to decide up front. So those are good things to be thinking about, perhaps more in that action planning, decision making phase later on down the track. Yes. You may need to click on the full program where there are specialisations under that link to get that full program visual, because it will just show you core courses in this immediate link. Thank you, Jenny. Back to the PowerPoint. I don't know if I've been skipping things or not. Thank you, Jenny. Much appreciated. Okay. I think it's gone back to, it has. Let's see if this works. Yay. All right, so we looked at 7 types of work on the job guide, which you'll be doing. We looked at My Future Career site, which you'll be getting all your occupational information from. And we looked at investigating your study pathways in the handbook. What comes next? Once you've done all of these things, you'll notice in your module that there's some additional personal profiling that you're able to do. And it's called Building Your Personal Profile, and it comes under the My Future website where we're doing our occupational searches and information gathering. You're able to do, it is a much more specialised profiling tool, so it's available for those of you that are wanting to do some extra profiling. If you already have, if you're already happy with the dual profiling, you might not want to do that. But if you're wanting to do that, if you're particularly perhaps at those initial stages of career planning, then you might like to dedicate some time there. It does a much more of a thorough assessment, and then it narrows down. So instead of having quite a large list, you actually end up with a smaller list of probably stronger matches, depending on what you put into the profiling as your information. You may also be interested in checking out the Graduate Opportunities site. This probably comes a little bit later when you know which industry you would like to work in, and it has a whole lot of information around what graduate experiences have been going out in particular areas. For instance, if you're going into IT, you can have a look at a snapshot of the employment levels of graduates in the last few years across Australia. So some really good information there. Also, you may want to keep an eye out for the Career Hub and our Career Planning and Employment Preparation Moodle site. We're going through a phase at the moment where these are automatically going to be registered to each student, and there's a lot of really good information on those sites around employment preparation, etc. So keep an eye out for those. What comes next? You're going to be working through your module, your courses. You may have some careers-related questions. The Moodle will be up and running between weeks 5, 6 and 7 for any careers questions that you would like to ask a careers specialist, and we'll be getting back to you about those questions. So use that facility. And you'll also be doing our computer lab to access the online tools that we talked about. At CQ Uni Careers, what do we do? So where to from here? You may find that you use us as a service in the future. We offer career counselling and advice. There are job vacancies listed in the Career Hub, so that can be helpful for those thinking about casual work, vacation work during your study as well, so it's good to keep an eye out on those. We offer career planning and employment preparation. Job search assistance, and we also run some workshops and an annual careers fair as well. You may have other questions as you're going through your study pathway planning. Perhaps you have done some previous study and you want to find out what that would mean going into a new program of study, and you want to find out about credit transfer. Perhaps you want to find out some questions around fees, etc. The questions need to be directed to the Course Information Centre on 132786. So they'll direct you to whether it's enrolments or fees or a student advisor of sorts to answer your questions. All right. So I encourage you to think deeply about your career opportunities, to think about who it is that you are, to delve into the barrel of possibilities and think about your career planning and just see what you come up with in terms of your roles, what comes to the surface, because it will be well worth your effort. The better the match the role, the greater the job satisfaction for you. So go forth and let your magnificence shine. Thanks, everyone.